Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jay Michaels, and we are on FearCon TV, part of Phoenix FearCon's 10th anniversary film festival and convention. And this year, there is so much stuff to talk about. I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to get right to some of the finest. We have an award this year called the Reggie Bannister Award, or the Reggie, and it is given to someone who has fought the fight to keep indie theater and film alive and their message strong and credible. And when you have that, I'm sure we all have names that we can put on this huge list. But then when you get right down to it, you start whittling that list down. And when it comes to someone who has forsaken life and limb, who has forsaken finance, who has forsaken everything to get his message across and will not bend because of cancel culture or anything like that, that list goes down to one person, and that's LLoyd, Kaufman, and Troma Entertainment. It is our honor this year to give the first annual Reggie Award for independent filmmaking to LLoyd Kaufman, and he's here with us, and I am so thrilled. Mr. Kaufman, good to see you again. Yes, how are you?
Fine. Well, now that I'm on your show, Jay, I'm in the clouds. This is a highlight of 50 years of making movies, making Troma movies. So thank you very much.
You are
makes it all worthwhile.
You are making me blush. This would be a mutual admiration society because I'm sufficiently intimidated by speaking to you.
Well, likewise.
The last time,
and you can purchase an Oscar, right? Harvey Weinstein, the god of Sundance, the god of the Cannes Film Festival, the god of the elites. He was able to buy the spent $200,000-300,000 to take ads in Hollywood Reporter or the other one. You get an Oscar if you do enough of that. Right?
Only 200.
You're talking about love. You love what you're doing comes out of whatever recognition I've had. It's from the heart and the brain and the soul of the critical world or the fan world. So it's much more meaningful to me.
I'm so glad to hear it. As I told you before I started rolling, I saw your latest. I saw hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. Now I'm a Shakespeare junkie, and I am a genre film junkie and all of that. And I sat there breathless. The uninformed are going to see this and go, oh, how dare he say that? But the messages you have gotten across, the education you are giving us, you saved me, I don't know how many master classes watching that movie. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you. You've been doing this now almost 50 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. Yeah, more. I have to say now more than 50 years, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the half a century plus.
Yes.
What's in it for you now? Now you have had to battle people to get your works done. You've had to battle the critics. You've had to battle the ill-informed. You've had to battle the elitist. You've had to battle the film industry itself in so many ways. What's in it for you? Why do you keep doing it?
Well, Michael Hers, my partner of almost 50 years, and my wife, commissioner, they both love cinema, as do I. And, we believe that there should be an expression of one's heart and soul and brain in the movie. I went to Yale, where I was introduced to the Cahiers de Cinéma, which is the magazine of the Cinémathèque Française. And I could read French, being a proud, entitled bourgeois. I speak fluent French, and they had this stack of magazines. Nobody was reading them, and I thumbed through them, and they come up in France, after the war, the Chabrol and Godard and others came up with this notion of the auteur filmmaker. So after quite a bit of acid and God knows what else, I decided I would stay in New York and try to be an auteur filmmaker and put my heart up on the screen. And the French compare me to Duchamp and many others. I get a lot more respect from the Cinémathèque Française, which is probably the most prestigious archival film museum in the world, and it does not embrace pure popular cinema. It embraces good cinema and cinema that does come from the soul. So that's very meaningful. I bought into all that and tried to create my own damn movie studio with Michael Hers, and then I've written 7 books, and like Woody Allen says, success is just showing up. Success is showing up. 88% of success is just showing up. Of course, he's boffing his daughter, but still, that's good advice. Very good advice.
Well, that's what he does in the other 12% of the time.
By the way, I've read his new book, his most recent book, Much Ado About Rand. I can't remember what the title is. It's terrific. It's very well done, very amusing. A lot of words I had to look up, by the way, and also an extremely fair and realistic argument about his crazy wife, former wife, or whatever she was. Most of the media, when all the crap went down, they supported Woody Allen, except for the New York Times. New York Times wanted to cancel him.
Of course.
And his book, this recent book, oh man, I can't remember what the title is, but it's very funny, very entertaining, very inspiring. And also, I can't believe anybody who reads it would be able to take Mia Farrow's side. Not that that's, I know it's much more important to free Britney, but these are the serious issues of the day. I'm being facetious, but you can't help getting into it.
I could smell the sarcasm.
Woody Allen he's one of the greatest American directors of all time, and I believe him. I've read everything. Anyway, and I can't say he's a big influence on me at all. I just think he's a marvelous artist and a wonderful writer, and I remember seeing him when he was in New York at one of those nightclubs, the Bitter End or something like that. I can't remember, but one of them. He was always wonderful, very amusing.
I think Midtown, he plays it at something Midtown. I don't know if he still does, but yes.
Well, he used to play the clarinet at Michael's Pub, and we used to eat there a lot because my mother lived nearby. And so we were in there all the time. Mondays, he would play clarinet. Wow. Speaking of which, I can...
I think Lloyd is getting his clarinet.
I'm the poor man's Woody Allen. That's little Woody Guthrie there for you. I think it's Woody Guthrie. Wow. This land is your land, and this land is my land. Fortunately, that the Indians didn't get that opportunity.
Oh, gosh, I did. You know what I did? It makes total sense, because the magic that you put on film comes out of nowhere in some cases. It's like, oh my God, look at that, what he just did. So of course you would get up and have a clarinet and just play Woody Guthrie, of course. Wow. Let's talk about the mission. When you make a movie, I'm sure back here there's that the Kaufman mission, the trauma mission. When you start rolling, and you told me it took 5 years to do Shakespeare Shitstorm. So and you said because the script has to be what you want. What do you want when you make the movie? What's the mission? What do you want to see in that end product?
Well, in the case of hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, like all of the films that Michael Hers and I have made ourselves, the idea of Shakespeare Shitstorm, like you, I'm a big fan of Shakespeare. B, I know that he always wanted dismemberment and head crushings and some X-rated footage in his movies, but The Tempest was always my favorite. And when we shot Romeo and Juliet, which James Gunn and I did, I was too young to be Prospero. I wanted to be. I would have shot the Tempest, but I wanted to get old and wait until I was Prospero's age. So I'm now Prospero's age. The Tempest is the trippiest of Shakespeare's, as I believe. I certainly delved into the world of self-medication at Yale, and since there's magic, a lot of magic in, and I make movies. Those are magical. And I'm getting old and losing power and kind of getting pushed deeper and deeper and deeper into the underground, in the same way that Prospero was banished to this island after the big storm. So I've been obsessed with the two particular themes. One is what I see as the problems that big pharma have created for our country. Right? We have 80,000. In 1 year, we've had 80,000 opioid deaths just this year, or last year, or whatever. I mean, we've had hundreds of thousands of deaths due to pharmaceuticals. And it's no wonder, because since my wife and I got married, she watches the Today Show, not the other one, the one on Channel 2. And they have these ads from 50 years ago, starting 50 when we got married. We've been married 48 years. They have these ads where 7 in the morning, while the children, while the obese American children are eating their Fruit Loops, they're watching these ads about take pill, normalizing the taking of pills, anything, hangnail, take a pill. You've got an eyebrow issue, we'll get plastic surgery. You got to, I mean, it's absurd. So that was one of the themes. And it's not just the opioid crisis. As I say, I've been watching this for 50 years, what these companies put up and the way they make America look too. I love the fact that they do have these mixed couples, but I mean, they make fat people look perfectly normal, right? If you're going to have diabetes, then don't weigh 300 pounds. I mean, I know they're aiming at fat people, but maybe they could put a message in, like the cigarette companies have to do, saying if you're, anyway, I'm getting off track. The other one is, of course, as you mentioned, the nastiness of these third-rate bloggers on Twitter trying to make their bones, trying to raise themselves up by destroying other people. And in certain cases, they've destroyed valuable members of the United States Senate, destroyed by his own party, by Senator Gillibrand. That's how she pushed poor old whatever his name is from Saturday Night Live, who was a very good senator, Al Franken.
Franken, yeah.
Right? What did he do? He did nothing. It's absurd. And he was a good guy. He worked for, my daughter worked for him, actually, my middle daughter. And he was all about women's rights. He was, she was his, she's big on the environment and all global warming. This goes back about maybe 8 years, 10 years ago. But he was beloved. He was great. And then his own party, his own, just to make her, give her a little bit of power, more power, she went after him and was probably the nail in his coffin. There's no reason to. She's just trying to make herself, puff herself up. So fuck Senator Gillibrand. I hate to say that about a woman, but I don't think she is a woman. I'd say she's something else.
If you can't impress people by your intelligence, then do it with your outrage, and that's what I'm seeing. Oh,
well, that's the problem. That's a big problem with me or people like me. I believe in hashtag truth and love. The truth is what will set you free, not imposing. Not brainwashing children and not destroying the American educational system. I've dealt with that. The class of Newcomb High shows you where the American educational system has gone, right? From a time when my father could go to City College for free and get an education on a par with Yale or Harvard for free, to a time now where you've got what are those X-ray machines, and the first thing the student sees when he comes in is a nasty security guard and an X-ray machine, and the schools used to be built like temples, literally, and now they're built like prisons. I mean, we've let and then we wonder why people are too stupid to get vaccinated. It's absurd. You know, it's
I-
all. So
I'm not
somebody, you got to.
shocked, but
What's that?
I'm not shocked at all why people are too stupid to,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in the
But
education.
it's not their fault. The
Yeah.
government has put all the governments together, including California, put education on the back burner. But very good bombs, very good benefits to the real estate moguls and the giant conglomerates get great encouragement with the tax laws and the destruction of free enterprise, at least in the world of art. And you know, it's going to keep going until people really get pissed off. And they did this summer to some extent. I mean, if I was a black person, I'd be burning everything down. I mean, good God, you know, I mean, no joke. That how much more can they take? I mean, you know, I mean, how much more? And they're still beating them up. They're still, you know, every day there's something where a black man who's peacefully sitting under a tree gets his head bashed in. He's all bloody. I mean, you know, just this week, enough.
Well, that's okay. Turn the page and find out about some wealthy person bribing a school to let their child in. So
yes. Or how about a wealthy person who's got a member of one of the posh investment banking firms, you know, hedge fund, where everybody bows down, and also a prestigious donor to these how do you say it, posh upper class charities and debutante balls and all that. He's got at Madison Avenue in the penthouse, he's got a bondage apartment where he apparently ties up Playboy playmates and beats them up and not just slaps their breasts, but punches them so much that they're now suing him. I mean, what the hell? Nothing, you know. Meanwhile, marijuana. Look at all the big shots making money off of marijuana, right? And you know that Philip Morris and they're going to move in and take over. And meanwhile, how many black men have in jail for years? In Alabama, you get caught with a couple of cigarettes if you're black, a couple of doobies, and you're in jail maybe 15 years. And now suddenly it's right, people making millions off of pot.
Suddenly it's fine. Suddenly
Going public on the New York, not on the New York Stock Exchange yet, but certainly up in Canada and here too. Actually here too, they do have public companies, pot companies. I'm all for it. I mean, definitely, I was for pot.
I'll agree.
I've been that way. Yeah. I mean, what the hell? But meanwhile, you know, I mean, again, Black Lives Matter. They should be, you know, it should be. They got to keep going. It's never. They're gonna, you know. I mean, maybe Kamala can change things a little bit. I doubt it, but
You are pissed off. This
well,
is
I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky. I shouldn't be pissed off.
you
As
are pissed
Warren
off for other
Buffett
people.
says, I'm pissed off for the country. I'm pissed off for society. I'm pissed off for the world being destroyed. My daughter is big on. She started Kit Split, which is a peer-to-peer, like an Airbnb for film equipment. But she talks about, look at this mango. This mango just. I was in Chad for a year. The mango trees, you could just pick a mango. It came from the heavens. It's a miracle. It tastes so good. And we're destroying the world. We're destroying the animals. In my lifetime, I think 3/4 of the birds are gone. The bees are going. The trees are going. I mean, everything's going away, and it's you know, it's pretty sad.
You are the only person I know now. Now I travel through all forms of the industry, art, literature, film, etc. And so many times I meet journeymen, and the one thing at the when I speak to them after they're a certain age, if you will, they're like, I can't do anything about it, so whatever, the hell with them. But you're not. What keeps you pissed off? What is it that makes you say, I'm not just going to sit back and let the next generation try to do something. I'm going to keep fighting. What keeps you pissed off?
Well, I think the fact that these enormous issues are there. And I read when I was very young, I read, oh boy, it was the Supreme Court, Oliver Wendell Holmes' biography, in which it was said, and I think he said it, that in order to have a valid existence, you should take part in the actions and passions of your time. I think our teacher made us write an essay about that quote because it stayed in my head. I think we had to write about it. At the time, I didn't get it, but I do get it now. And I had a very left-wing grandmother who fed me all sorts of books and literature and, anti-Vietnam War. When I was in 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, the Vietnam War was going. And she was very much against that. She gave me a book called Brave New World, not by Aldous Huxley, but it was by Scott Nearing, who was a professor blacklisted and kicked out of University of Pennsylvania, who fought for civil rights and against the atomic bomb. And it was all about the Brave New World was about Mao's China, which I read. I read it. I don't know if I read the whole thing, but I got the point. It was all about it was very much praising Mao for kicking out the corrupt colonialists. And then she gave me another one called by C. Wright Mills, who was I think he also got kicked out. He may have been able to stay. He was at Columbia, but he wrote a book called what was it? The Power Elite. The Power Elite, and it made a huge. It's all about the industrial military complex and how it is perverting democracy. And every movie I've made takes that form, that the people of Tromaville, the little people, are perfectly able to lead their lives. They don't need to be led by the nose by elites and limousine liberals and fascists, and that they're capable of making their own decisions and running their lives and seeking a decent education. And that's been kind of that the three elites. I see three elites: the bureaucratic, namely the elected officials, the corporate elite, and the labor elite. We have labor leaders making over $1 million while their constituents are eating dog food. And those three elites suck dry the little people of Tromaville of their spiritual and economic capital. And it's still going on. Still going on. It's ridiculous. Right? The CEOs, the CEO of GE, a company that's basically bankrupt, the highest paid CEO in the world, and he got the board to change his deal when the stock didn't go up. He got the board to lower the bar so he could get $120 million this year. I mean, it's ridiculous. Meanwhile, there's poor people that cleaned up the pandemic here. Did they get any raises? What did they get? Right? Hopefully the government gave them a few bucks, but we still can't figure out that we should fix our roads and give money to babies and preschool, and having a tough time figuring that one out in Congress for some reason. It's because they're all. That's how you become a millionaire now. You get elected to Congress. Dana Rohrabacher, who I don't believe in what he believes in, but one thing is he's probably the only congressperson who did not leave the Congress as a millionaire. I mean, these people are using, enough of that. I should be more, let's talk about art.
No,
I'm sorry.
You are talking about art. Okay, it's obvious we see your passion and you're putting it into film. Two little questions I have on this. Why the genre of horror and sci-fi and fantasy? Why did you use that for this?
That's a good question.
Toxic Avenger. Why did you pick the most mystical of all of Shakespeare's plays? Why that genre?
Well, satire has always been our beat. Michael Hers and I. Michael has a better sense of humor, but he stopped directing. But we used to co-direct. He co-directed the Toxic Avenger and earlier films. But we love satire and comedy, and we like making people laugh. And when we did Squeeze Play, Waitress, Stuck on You, The First Turn On, and they're hilarious. They're wonderful. They all have a good underlying themes, but we had to move on to something else because the major studios had caught on to the. We did it before Porky's, before the raunchy comedy became a big deal. And then the majors started to make comedies with no particular social relevance, but they were using good actors and good scripts, which was not fair. And we had to move on to something else. So we decided one day Michael Hers saw a headline in one of the trades, probably Variety, talking about how horror films were no longer profitable, that they had run their course. And so part of our business theory is if the experts say one thing, do the opposite. So we decided, okay, let's do something in the world of horror. And originally Toxie was called Health Club Horror, but I wanted it to be comedic and slapsticky and satirical and more making people laugh than, and maybe making people, retch a little, gag a little bit. To get their attention, get the juices flowing. And I want to aim at we want to aim at young people, because old people, they're not going to do anything to change it. My society, my generation's total failure, as far as I can see. Look what they produced. Look at the leaders they produced. I would have been a better president, I guarantee you, than any of them.
That's why I say you don't give up. As the gray overtakes your head, most people give up. You're not giving up, and I think that's incredible.
Well, I've been lucky enough to love cinema and love the moving image in all its forms, and I've been lucky. I married Pat Swinney 48 years ago, who has been extremely supportive, and even when she was the film commissioner of the great state of New York, she would hang out with, her job was pretty much to bring in money to New York, bring in movies, get movies here. And she created the very generous tax incentive. If you make a movie in New York State, you can get almost 35% of your budget in cash back after the film is made. We didn't use it. We never used that, but because of the optics. But it has caused New York State to build people in New York. 10 new studios have been built here in New York, and there are not enough crews locally to. There's so many movies and TV here that the unions have been taking what they call guest workers. So they won't let them into the union, but they'll let them fill in because to keep movies here, that kind of stuff. But so she has been very supportive, in spite of the fact that I'm astounded that she was appointed by both Republican and Democratic governors, and yet there was Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High and Terra Firma and Blood-Sucking Freaks and Cannibal the Mutant, and there was never any, other than when she was appointed. There was some nasty stuff in Hollywood Reporter by Doris Tumarkin, but other than that, she's had nobody ever. And the governor used to always, Pataki, who appointed her, he used to joke about the Toxic Avenger. He got it. He got whatever we were doing, at the time. But she was able to. She retired after 20 years. She was nobody. No New York Post. No scandal, right? You could easily have had New York State Commissioner is a surf Nazi or something. It would have been perfect for the New York Post. Some people loved her so much, and she did such a good job that they left her alone. And she did a great. She's the Babe Ruth of New York State Film Commissioners.
Oh, it's great. I look forward to speaking to her at the event also.
Yeah, good, good.
Your brain.
That would be great.
Um,
Yeah. Well, thanks again for having us.
Oh my gosh, please, it's our pleasure. Now in your films, when you say Tromaville, the people of Tromaville, you have actors that are doing amazing, amazing things. There are moments, putting my actor head on, I'm watching this. You can't, after working in the industry, you can't not see the wires, you can't not see the lights. They did amazing envelope pushing things. Did you need to convince them, or was the message, or did they feel the message immediately? What the things that the actors did, they were ready to do them. Did you have to convince them, or did they just?
In hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm? You're
That's
talking
the
about
big
hashtag.
one now, yeah.
Yeah, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. By this time, our secret weapon, Jay, is that we have a pretty big fan base. I think about 1 million people look at our various social sites and my fan site, and we've got Troma Now, which has an app that you can see about 1,000 movies and shorts and music videos, and collect comic books and photos of Tromettes. So we've got the fans, and when we announced that I'm making a movie, people are lining up to be in it, and also Troma's discovered so many people. We're a good minor league team. In fact, there aren't any independent studios like us left anymore, unfortunately. So, and we have a record of discovering. Samuel Jackson's first movie is Death by Temptation. The late Paul Walker's first movie is Monster in the Closet. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Again, these are movies those two movies I didn't direct. We financed, but I didn't direct. We're executive producers or something. But there's tons of Vincent D'Onofrio's first movie is the first turn on. There's all sorts of interesting. The guy in the Mr. Wonderful or Mr. Big or Mr. whatever he is in Sex in the City. He started in Waitress and Jakarta, which my brother made before he became a big star. And they know us now. There are enough people who know us who also believe in kind of our. I mean, people call it punk, but I don't really think it's punk. I think it's more sort of just fairness, belief in. I'm old enough to remember when there was competition among movie studios, and when there wasn't just the big conglomerate, the media conglomerates who were trying to kill net neutrality. There actually was, when we started in 1974. If we had a movie that was entertaining, we got a huge. The Toxic Avenger ended up with 2,000 movie screens. At first, there were none, but then it grew. The Squeeze Play, our first kind of success, the 35 millimeter success, immediately became successful after one sneak preview. There was a need for, and there weren't so many. There was many movie theater chains that were competing with each other. Now you have this basically duopoly of Regal and AMC. And what I can't figure out, Jay, is why did the meme gang, why is the Reddit gang helping AMC? They were bankrupt. They've abused, monopolies never work. They always blow up. And this AMC was about to, AMC Cinemas was going to go, they were on the way to going bankrupt. They were totally useless. And now, thanks to the Reddit crowd, they raised billions of dollars. Their stock is 100 times what it's worth. And because it's that, AMC was able to go out and raise, I don't know how many billions of dollars, because the stock was up, so they could go to the market and get all sorts of, so now they can acquire more, the few, maybe there are 200 theaters that'll play a movie by Lloyd Kaufman. They'll probably all get acquired, or they'll be put out of business, one or the other. So I just don't understand why. And I wrote a letter to the editor of Barron's, which is an economic, it's owned by a Wall Street Journal, and it's a once a week newspaper that I'm sure you know, but our fans may not. And it talks about the stock market and American business and international business. And nobody has said, they've just marveled at what the Reddit crowd can do and what the meme crowd can do. But nobody has said, what are you doing with you're making, helping make a duopoly even stronger. Maybe it'll be a monopoly. Then you'll have warmed over, and I got nothing against the Marvel films. There are some good ones, without a doubt. And James Gunn and the Black Panther, and there's some really good ones. Although I didn't get those gorilla people in the Black Panther. I thought that was a little, I think if I had made gorilla people, I'd be in serious difficulty. Anyway, it's a great, you know, there's some good ones without a doubt. And, but, you know, you need competition, and it just never works. So somehow Reddit just contributed to a duopoly, which certainly does not help consumers. But anyway, I'm off the track. But a lot of that stuff I believe in. You know, it's very sad. Too bad.
I think when you don't have enough time to be outraged, you simply agree, and that's the poor man's outrage. So sometimes we just support.
Well, if I didn't love cinema, if I didn't really love movies, I wouldn't be doing it. I'm lucky enough to do something I really enjoy, as stressful as it is. At the end of at the end of hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, the day after Principal Photography, I did a tribute to Alfred Hitchcock. I had vertigo. I actually had it. I woke up the next day and the room was, and I hadn't had anything to drink or smoke, and the room was spinning. I had 3 days of laying there with vertigo because it's so, you know, I'm getting old, and that movie was a heck of a movie to produce for for our budget. You know, not
produce that. You ran the you ran the 1,000,000 miles in that film. And
well, thank you.
There's someone who always blinking and going, I want to move like that now.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. We just opened a movie in New York at a nice little theater called the Film Noir in Brooklyn. Again, I've been making movies for 50 years in New York. How many books have I written? How many New York stars have we made who've gone on to Hollywood to be major? Yet the New York Times ignores. We open a movie in the New York Times, and the guy who wrote hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, Brandon Basham, I produced his new film, which is called The Final Beginning / Part 2. It's very funny. It's scary. There's nothing disgusting in it like my movies. It's a really good movie. He's a young guy starting out in his career. It wasn't even his first movie. We distribute his first film. And yet the New York Times totally ignores it. And page after page after page about, what was it? The Black Widow, and you know, does the public need to know about public? I mean, okay, write an article, but I mean, half the New York Times every week the theater section would be all about Black Widow. You know, we know it's coming. Enough, you know. So you know, how about a new guy? You know, so if Brandon Basham were not working for Troma, I think he would get his film would get a lot more attention from the mainstream media. The New York Times, Vincent Canby, who was the lead critic of the New York Times, put aside the Hollywood blockbusters when The Toxic Avenger opened in New York, and he reviewed it because he thought it would be interesting rather than the obvious, which would be whatever the giant movie was that week, or the movies that opened that particular Friday. And we get good reviews. Same with Janet Maslin, who was another of the main critics. It's just the times have changed, and now it's all about sucking the tit of advertising. And I'm afraid that's all what the New York Times is about. How could they, you know, not one, I shouldn't be whining, but not one New York City media on any media mentioned Troma's 40th year, my 50th year. In fact, we're still making movies for the theaters. Nothing.
Was it harder then?
We don't exist. We don't exist.
Was it harder then when you started, like during the days of Toxic Avenger? Joseph Papp told a story how when he was doing Romeo and Juliet, his first Romeo and Juliet, when he was, before there was a public theater or anything like that, he had actors quit constantly. Constantly, they'd come in, they didn't like what he did, and they left. A few stayed, Geraldine Page, George C. Scott, Roscoe Lee Brown, you know, just some mediocre actors, but so many left. But so many left. Nowadays, obviously, you know, to be in the public theater, that's another story. Was it harder then to get people, or is it harder now with bureaucracy? What's the worst hurdle, then or now?
Well, we have a very long pre-production, months, which too many movies do not, especially the big ones. They're so expensive and the actors cost so much, they don't have rehearsal time in many cases. We have long pre-production and we have a long audition period. So during the auditions, we can sort of weed out people with attitudes or people who don't get it, or people who can't act, which is a big group. But you know, nudity has been a big problem. You know, American society is very puritanical. I spent my summers in Europe, and there were naked people all. And then I spent a year in Chad, who made it to the front page of the New York Times today because they received 100,000 vaccines and have only distributed about 200. And but Chad, I spent a year in the bush of Chad, and there were naked women all around. So it's for me, I don't get it, but I know the public enjoys it, and but that has always been a problem until the last 10 years. Now people want to be in a Troma movie, and they're perfectly happy to be naked. And if we have them eventually, if they're considered for the, they get down to the finals of getting a part, and that part calls for some nudity, we have them audition with the required nudity and the required nudity, what do you call it, the required love making as auditions. And so that they pretty much they get very carefully and screened for quite a long time. Asta Paridi said that when she plays the lead, one of the two leads in Return to Nukem High, and the second half of that movie, which is called Return to Nukem High, like Kill Bill. Anyway, she said she was called back 12 times. So, you know, we're very careful about making sure that everybody involved knows exactly what we're doing. And we make them watch, we insist that they watch Poultry in Motion. Poultry in Motion, Truth is Stranger Than Chicken, Jay, which is the documentary about the making of Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. And if they watch that, and if they have no excuse if they watch that movie for not knowing what they're getting into, because you see, we've made 4 or 5 feature-length behind-the-scenes movies, including how we sell movies at the Cannes Film Festival. They're all on Troma Now, and they're great teaching. You can learn more from Poultry in Motion, Truth is Stranger Than Chicken, than at least, I would say you could learn more from that than a year of USC film school. So that people have no excuse for not getting it. So we've had very few people quit. We've had to fire a couple of people whose heads, you know, because they had the lead, they thought they were. We fired the Toxic Avenger in Toxic Avenger Part 2 because he didn't get that, you know, everybody is equal. You know, just because he's got the lead doesn't mean that this production assistant should carry his suitcases and, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, basically everybody who works for us is at this point is a fan. So, and in that case, the guy didn't get it, so we fired him. You know, he was just rude and taking advantage. He wasn't showing up on time, and you know, and somehow but that again was more than 30 years, 40 years ago.
Right.
Now I think we have a big fan base who, you know, who get it. The nudity thing has certainly gone, is not a big deal anymore because you have all these film stars. You've got the woman from Charles Adams, the Adams Family, Christina Ricci. She's naked all over she's totally naked in the very classy Zelda series, which is all about being drunk and naked and having sex. So
really classy. Oh,
so,
good.
yeah, well, you know, Jane Fonda was naked in Clute and got an Oscar. You know, so it shouldn't be such a big deal. And now it isn't. Now it really isn't. And so that's on Shakespeare Shitstorm, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, I say we had 100 people every day on the set who were so devoted. They came from France, from England, from Japan. The art director was from Japan. The main cameraman was from Denmark. They were all over the world, and they paid their way here to work on the movie, to sleep on the floor and learn how to defecate in a paper bag. And it resulted in a trauma movie. Fernando Ale, who had just worked on the two, Return to Nukamai and Return to Nukamai, he wrote a trauma script, and we actually produced it. And he actually got money from the Portuguese government. He's Portuguese. A Mutant Blast. You can see it on Trauma now. It's terrific. It's great. Made for a very tiny budget. Wonderful.
I have to say, listening to you again, which is, I don't need a master class in film, in navigating this world after listening to you. I think I understand. I was wondering, my only commercial piece of me when I watch a Trauma film, when I watch a Lloyd Kaufman film, I think to myself, why aren't they protesting it? How come they're screaming at the guy who made an off-color joke somewhere, but they're not screaming about this? And it's the same.
They've tried. They've tried. I've been kicked off Instagram twice for no reason that I can see. I've had these third-rate bloggers. One of them, if you go to his Twitter, he says, "Ask me about my thoughts on feminism." You know, and two of them went after me, and our fans shut them down real quick. And then it happened again. Some douchebag on one of those influencers, right-wing bullshitters, went after me and tried to involve me. And anyway, it started to spiral up. And again, the fans just killed this guy. And one of them was named Fire Herpes. Oh man, he got his gang to go after this guy. Eventually he apologized on YouTube, but he was putting up pictures. He was calling me a pedophile and putting up photographs of me with my own children. Here's an example of, I mean, it was absurd. Yet, people will believe this. People believe a Pizzagate, whatever. He tied me in with Pizzagate.
Don't get me started on that. Oh my God, we'll be here for an hour. Started on that. Oh my God.
But and really the secret ingredient we have is that our fans spread the word too. They protect me, but the most important is that they give us good word of mouth. In the case of Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, they gave us very good word of beak. So the movie did okay, thanks to, you can't buy word of mouth. $200 million if the original Suicide Squad, and they probably spent $200 million just on marketing, they couldn't buy the word of mouth. James Gunn, the new Suicide Squad, my Twitter is, it just came out like a day ago. I must have had 100 tweets about James Gunn and how brilliant the film is, and people love it. They're going to see it again. And you can't buy that. You cannot buy it.
You learn from the master.
It helps to spend $200 million, but it's got to be something worthwhile, or the fans just walk away.
You could spend $200, but if you learn from the master as he did, then that's enough.
That's true. He put in a hard time at Troma. He was there a number of years and directed. We had a TV show in England, and he directed some of that. And, he was terrific.
There's the line in Hamlet, and I'm paraphrasing it, where the king and Laertes are talking about killing Hamlet, and the king says we can't because he is loved by the masses. So I think that's why some people are leaving you alone. Some people are scared of you. And the fans adore you because you're right. What you say is right. You're saying the right thing.
Thank you.
And you're saying it loud enough, funny enough, and scary enough that we need to believe it. And
I agree.
I think Trauma's incredible. I think you're incredible, and I can't wait to meet you at the festivities. Thank you so much for chatting with me again. It's always a pleasure. There's nothing else I can say. It is always a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Jay, and thank your fans, and thank you for inviting me to FearCon, and I'll play myself off. That's the